as the new people are coming on, I'm trying to build them, say, listen, guys, we are teaching cops back to basics, basic fundamentals. I don't care if it's SWAT. I don't care if it's rifle instructor. I don't care if it's shield. They got to get active shooter. There's too much fancy stuff going on here between all this military training, this stuff, all this wizardry stuff. And you guys don't understand is that we got to train people to go back and train people with limited hours.
This is going to hurt. It's time for the Suffering Podcast. You know, it's a shame. You moved through your career. Did you ever, like, this baby of yours that you created, did you watch it grow? Did you watch it stagnate?
It grew. I mean, we were really, really busy. Right after ground 9/11, like I was there the night the towers went down with the rescue equipment. We came in, and then our team was there for days after. Right after that, really things sparked up because a lot of the government was, because of what was going on, people left Patterson and they went into Piscataway to go to Rutgers. The Muslim Center was there, and a lot of cells were actually hiding in our town. It was like a known fact. It wasn't until one night we got multiple calls of home invasions or something in apartments, and come to find out it was actually the feds doing nighttime raids, and they never told us the confliction, right? And so we show up there, guns are blazing, like, what the hell's going on? Next thing you know, it's guys in plain clothes and we have feds, and we're like, oh, you can't come into our town and just go kicking in doors because of these towers. So that really sparked a lot of us getting involved with the federal, doing a lot of work for them. Like, so when wires and intel came in, hey, you guys got to hit this place. You got to. So we were getting. There was a time we were in Mercer, Delaware, the range, Mercer County range, up by the Delaware. 6 inches of snow. We're having a good time shooting. I get a phone call. We got a wire takedown. Big job. Can you bring the team back? 6 hours into it, we're like, it's cold. We're doing our thing. A bunch of farting guys in a big truck, heading back, rushing back to go.
Bunch of thick guys on high protein diets.
Yeah, exactly.
That's a great time.
Perfect, right?
Yeah.
You know, a bunch of Peter Griffin, whatever. And we get there to hand us the packets. We got to whack this out, this out.
Did you develop the strategies, or were they handed to you?
Any of the wire stuff, it was already done, and then we'd have to put the plan in place. Like, they'd have their intel, and they'd have their search warrant. Here's a target, but then we had to scramble. Like, some of these jobs are like an hour. We're all going to call green light in an hour. Like, we just got here. Yeah. So we're scrambling. Because normally, if it was a drug job, gun job, like, we'd come in at 2 a.m. That's some things people right there don't know. We'd come in like 2, 3 a.m. The leaders would come in. We'd have like the narcotics guys would come in, give us the intel. We draft up the plan. And by the time we tell the guys 0500, sitting down in a chair, the plan was already there. So we'd put up the tactical plan. We'd have everything ready to go. So hours ahead of schedule we'd be in that. But these wires, they just call us, oh, you got to go. And we'd rush them back, put hoodies off, throwing gear on, scrambling around. We didn't have all the best equipment, but we were building it. We were just doing a lot of work. And it wasn't until maybe like after the shooting with my friend Dave in 2011, in 2012, 13, that's when the no-knock search warrant thing started getting scrutinized and things started changing. So things started slowing down, and that was kind of my leadership role from the team, because I was one of those guys, like, I wanted to be on the team, but I wanted to build a team with the other guys helping me, making leaders out of everybody. So next man up. So we used to teach in class. 4th of July weekend, you got 20 guys. 4th of July weekend, half the team is gone. Next man up. And
or if a guy goes down,
your
leader goes down.
Yeah,
that's redundancy.
Yeah, so we prepared all our guys and gals to be ready. So this guy can breach. You're the main guy. If you're gone, I could breach, or you could breach, and that's the way it was. And we just cross-trained everyone, even though certain guys were assigned to that position. Right, we were but everyone was cross-trained. But then when that stuff started coming out, I worked in narcotics task force for a bunch of years, undercover stuff with the county. So we were doing a ton of jobs, like plain clothes. I mean, it was like OK Corral out there. We were just, hey, go ahead, one lieutenant. Hey, Joey, hey, got a bunch of houses you got hit. Like, and he's handing me napkins. Like, this is our ops plan.
They're doing this.
Yeah, exactly. Like, I'd be in Monroe, and then you got to go up to Newark to follow this guy with $1 million of cash. And we were just hitting places, but it was like the Wild Wild West. Like, we were just throwing people. Like, what the hell's going on? So they brought me in to train the county narco guys how to do like efficient work. Yeah. Like, you can't take a guy who's in a wheelchair and launch him like to a table. Like that's what was going on. But then once I got out of the county stuff, it was funny because sidebar, the chief had called me in. He said, me and the chief were really good friends. He's like, you're getting a lot of good letters from the prosecutor. They're loving you there. He goes, matter of fact, they want to keep you here for another 2 years. And I'm like, and I should have said, oh, it sucked. But I was having such a good time. I'm like, Chief, honestly, if I could finish my career there, I represent Piscataway, I'll do it. Then the next day, the blue slip came out, back on the road.
You're done.
And I come in and say, yo, Kevin, what's up? He's like, I can't lose one of my best cops, because he thought they were going to suck me in to go there. Yeah. And then that's when things started slowing down. Plus the business, because I started the business in 2002. And then we really would just...
Oh, you were doing both at the same time?
Yeah.
That's a lot of work, bro.
Yeah. 2002, I started it, and then the towers came... 2001, I had the plan.
And we're talking about Team APC.
Team APC, yeah.
When you trained our SWAT team in Lyndhurst, you were still working.
Oh, yeah.
Well, when you just retired fairly recently. 2020,
yeah. Yeah, so April of 2021, I was in New Mexico with bomb school. Tom Clancy was there giving a guest speaker.
That's cool.
And he was talking about the towers. Like he was talking about the explosion happened in 93, and then all of a sudden I started writing up my plan how to get into the business of training because I was going to all these classes, and slowly there were a lot of guys like from Surefire, and a lot of these dudes, like they were good dudes, but some of these guys were clowns. And I remember the one dude at the Counterterrorism Symposium in New York, he was doing a demo, so he called me up because I was bigger, and he's like, "Hey, big guy, come up here." So he showed me this technique with the flashlight, and he do a demo. So he takes me to the ground, and he's cranking on me, right? So I'm like, like that. And then he's, "Hey, I can sit on this guy all day." And I was like, "What the?" So I hip toe. I basically roll my hips, and I just flip him over, and I jump on top of him, about to pound him. I'm like, and that was like my spark of like, I'm gonna go out there and train these cops.
Because you see that in every academy where you get the guy who wants to crank on the new guys.
Yeah.
And you take a guy. You talked about jujitsu. You take a guy who knows jujitsu fairly well. Like, I don't know if you're a big subscriber to Jocko Willing. So Jocko believes that every cop should be a purple belt, and he's right. And he's right. Not to say that you're going to go hands-on with people, but it's more about the confidence.
Yep.
It's like, I know. You might not have to use it, but I know that I can do this at any time I want. I can take you down. I can do whatever I want to do.
Yeah.
And that's why, I'm a big believer that cops should be jiu-jitsu practitioners.
Oh, yeah.
Number one, there's no better physical fitness in the world, in my opinion.
Yeah.
None.
No, without doubt.
But so you saw those holes in the training programs.
Yeah.
And you're like, well, I can do that a little bit better.
Yeah.
And that's why you started Team APC. And where, first of all, where'd that name come from?
Well, what happened was how the vision came when I saw it, like going back, we said all this nonsense of I was seeing all these holes. But then I was training our team. Our team would train with like Somerset County's team at the time, Hunterdon County's team. So we were training with other people, and I'd teach in service at the Academy for Teams, and guys came to me and they're like, "Man, you should really go mainstream the way you teach, bro. Like, because my intensity, I'm at 100 miles an hour, and and tear you up." Was that Hicks and Gracie's line? Cook your opponent in slow burn. That's who I was. I was just like, just cook you, right? So what happened was me, a retired sergeant from my department, and a firefighter family friend of ours. They said, let's do a consulting company. So, we were trying to come up with names, and the official name is Awareness Protective Consultants. But why we did it was because we didn't want to just attack the police side of the house. We knew if we went to corporate, we didn't want some sling blade name, something to scare, because that's what happened. You go to corporate, and they see this scary name, like, oh, you guys are killers. So it just came up with that, and as Awareness Protective Consultants, I changed it to, added to doing business as Team APC. Basically, that's what it stands for. And it was like our cadre of loyal trainer consultants. That's where it came from. I just wanted to make it shorter, And
you've done a lot of business at Team APC over the course of 21 years.
Yeah.
You're almost a consultant as long as you were a cop, which is crazy.
Yeah, it was. And I tell guys all the time, like we started flying overseas, and we started flying, out to Asia, South America, Africa. Like we're training, California, you name it, we were going, Singapore. And then I'd fly back home, taking time off, working on my schedule, and then go right to work. Like I'd get home on a red eye, go to sleep for 3 hours, 4 hours, and then I go right to work, and 4 days, lock them up, and then like 2 o'clock in the morning, go home, get them sleep, and then maybe a SWAT school with these guys. You know, it'd be 6 o'clock, 5 o'clock in the morning, training SWAT, and just zero sleep, and just, you know, just knew what it was, but I loved it. You know, I still love it. You know, but I loved it.
You can tell by the way he talks how into it is. You got to see him when he's training you.
You have to love it in order to do it the way you're doing it, and to be successful. There's got to be a little bit of love. And I imagine when that love dissipates is when you start to pull back. Or are you trying to create that ideal team that you said before, where you're creating a bunch of leaders so one day you can pull back?
Yeah, I'm trying, and the tough part is egos. Like that's this business of, like, you know, you see there's a lot of training companies out there, and I've learned there's companies that annoyed me because I know a lot of, the thing is, being in this business so long, you know, even the background of every single person. Like, I know all these companies, I know everyone who's doing it, and I know the background more than they think I know. But I'm starting to see, like, you know, I'm glad that they're doing it, and I'm glad they're doing this. Or some of these companies, they came in high rev, running their mouths, you know. And again, we didn't have social media when I started, so that's why we're like, you know, we just keep things low key, but like we're slowly blossoming, I guess. But then, like, I start seeing these other companies, and I see, yeah, they're right. Their mission is right to try to help cops be better. You know what I mean? So I bring guys in, a good small cadre of people, but what happens is, you know, some the past guys, they just got burnt out. Some guys, they realize, like, the taxing of traveling, you know, just kind of, and then someone just like, well, you know, I went to this class, we did this. I said, I really don't care. Like, I don't care about the other class. Like, what we teach is our stuff. And at the end of the day, the new mantra for me is, like, as the new people are coming on, I'm trying to build them, say, listen, guys, we are teaching cops back to basics, basic fundamentals. I don't care if it's SWAT. I don't care if it's rifle instructor. I don't care if it's SHIELD. They got to get active shooter. There's too much fancy stuff going on out here between all this military training, this stuff, all this wizardry stuff. And you guys don't understand is that we got to train people to go back and train people with limited hours. Someone comes to our class for 5 days as an instructor, or 3 days, they're not going back to the department. They're going to get 3 days to teach their entire department. They got lucky if they get 4 hours for each shift, you know, and separated. And you got to rush. You got to cram all this knowledge. And we try to tell guys, teach your officers the basics. If they master the basics, the advanced stuff will be better. And that's what I'm trying to do with our team. Just a good collective group of guys where there's certain things I sit back on now. I mean, I got a guy, John Zamrock, former state range master. You probably remember when he was on.
That's what I was talking about before, Zamrock.
He's guy's 76 years old. He's still teaching. He wrote all the weapon programs for the state of New Jersey. He was the guy. He saw how bad the training was, and that's how I really became inspired, because I went to his subgun class in '99, and I watched this man teach, and I just stood there and watched him. I'm like, holy crap, this guy's amazing. And we got connected like that. And from him in 2000, I would go down to the Division of Criminal Justice. I would train, help him teach. And it was funny because umpteen instructors would be there, only like 4 or 5 out of, like, say, 12 instructors. We'd be like watching the students, squatting next to them, making sure to fix their mistakes. And the other guys would just stand in their hands in their pockets. And I'm like, and John would say, he goes, I'm so glad we got guys like you. And then when he left DCJ, because at the time, Christie regime, fun fact, Christie regime wanted to lessen the hours of required training for police officers for range, use of force. And they had this big meeting, and this big Vietnam vet, 6'8" guy, slams his fist on the table, and he's like, this is the problem. You people who don't know anything about police work, you're going to get these cops killed. And no, we understand, John, police training commission. And all of a sudden, as soon as he walked out the door, armed escort, walked him out and said, oh, Vietnam vet, you got to go. And the first person he called besides his wife he called me, Jose, I'm done with DCJ, coming on board. So he's been like, he's still teaching. He still loves cops. He has family as cops.
But how do you avoid getting burnt out? Like that you held this business, this high octane business for so long.
Right.
Burnout is inevitable.
Yeah.
But how do you stop that? And this is sort of a lesson to people starting their own business, no matter whether it's a podcast or whether it's Team APC.
Yeah. Well, I mean, from all the business models and stuff and the studying I've done and learned, I tell my wife, like, I see John. So John Zamrock, 76. So I'm like, how can I burn out if I see a guy like that? Who cares?
He'd be calling you a pussy.
You know, and exactly. Who are you? And then there was a point not too long ago, being honest too, right? That, you know, some of the new style of policing and the way some of the cops' attitudes to the entitlement stuff, you know, and again, a lot of it's no fault of these young kids. It's just what they're taught, you know, I guess. And I always said,
and how they're taught in the police academy.
And I always said,
kinder, gentler police academy now.
When the academies, most of these academies, when they start going to the colleges, especially when they start moving from their own sanctum place there to the colleges, I remember telling Somerset, I'm like, this is not going to be good. He goes, what do you mean? You know, college educated. I said, college educated is fine, but when we go to this college, you're going to have these recruits mixed in with civilians. It's just going to be a bad mesh. No, they're going to build their own place. And I'm like, Dr. Failace, I'm telling you, it's not going to be good. And you saw the quality changing. Like you started seeing people getting butthurt. Like I couldn't yell like I used to. You couldn't curse. You know, you couldn't motivate them. You know, and if you insulted their intelligence, you know, on like simple questions, the recruit like yell at them. Like I remember these 3 guys. Where are you from? City of so and so, sir. You know, they're doing PT. They could barely do push-ups. I'm saying to myself, how does a man not be able to do push-ups?
Because police work, unfortunately, in general, has become more of a business. The salaries got super high.
Yeah.
When all of us started, you guys started before me. When we started, salaries, you made okay. You did all right.
Yeah. $24,000 my first year.
My first year was $33,500. All right, you did okay. It was a living. You're never going to get rich by it, but some of these salaries are so high, and then the road jobs, and then all the cops that all they think about is road jobs. Yeah. You take away the guys who just love to be civil servants. Yeah. You really do. They have that, like you. I can tell by your passion, the way you speak about it, that you have this love for this, and I think that's slowly going away, and it's starting to become. Police work is not a business. I hate to tell everybody, it's not. It's a calling. It's a feeling.
You got to be cut out for it. It doesn't have to be cut out for you.
Yeah,
You have to live and breathe this job every day in order to be effective.
Yeah, I mean, my son, when he started, same footsteps. He started in Somerset County Jail. I said, just get your foot in the door, and then we started doing the civil service, and then sheriff's called him, Middlesex, and I had to go through the academy again. I said, I did the same thing. I went through Marine Corps boot camp, corrections academy, and now this. I said, it's going to make you a better person. And there was a point, I was saying before, there was a point not too long ago, I was actually feeling a burnout. Like I was getting to that point, like I'm getting tired of listening to these guys whine and complain. Because listen, our training, there's dudes that I'm friends with, like, you know, that are on Instagram, and they've been to a couple of our trainings, and like we humble you. We're not here to give you anything erotic or exotic, but we're here to humble you. And we want you to make mistakes. We're going to expose everything you do that's so weak on you, but then we're going to build you back up. And we know that, right? And I started seeing like a lot of these guys coming in, like they come in. I use a phrase called swag goo. This is the new thing, right? So my buddy, one of our instructors, Vinny Mayo, he probably listened to this when it goes live. Like, he goes, "What do you call swag goo?" I said, "I'm seeing these guys and gals show up with all this cool gear, right? Look like something out of Catalog Commando.
Yeah.
And then it's all swag. And then when they get on the range or to get on the, we fight with them with their gear on, and all of a sudden shit's falling off them, and shit's just falling apart. It becomes gooey. You're a gooey mess, hence swag goo. So if you're gonna show up here with swag, you better be able to know how to use the swag. Otherwise, we're gonna turn you into swag goo, and that's what's happening. So there was a time where I was just getting so tired, like between the cops and emails and complaining about this and always on their phones. And then at one point, like, I told my wife, like, God, I could just open up that Wave Runner shop. Like, I was planning on moving to Anna Maria, and just right before the COVID, I was going to retire. But then all of a sudden, like, I watched like On Patrol Live or Live PD at the time, and then I see a cop getting killed, and I'm like, this shouldn't have happened. This shouldn't have happened. And then I'm like, then all of a sudden my son got the call, and that's where I got resparked.
And got rejuvenated.
Big time. Like, a lot of vested interest now. I'm just like, so that's what got me. I was almost burnt. I was feeling that burnout. Like, maybe I could do something else. Maybe put in, I could have gotten a full-time job somewhere else. But I've been doing it so long, and people just keep calling. Just when you think, okay, it's time to go, then your kid is in it, and then you start seeing cops getting killed. And I'm a big proponent. Like, for my background, I was not one who wanted to be friends with a lot of cops in my department. And any cop who knows me, they would tell you, he was like, I would tell people in the academy, if you can count, depending on the size of your department, if you can count friends on one hand from who you associate with at work, you're doing something right. But if you want to be friends with everybody in that place and be liked, you're fooling yourself. I said, this is a business in the sense of you're here to serve the community first. And people would be like, oh, you're preaching. I'm not preaching. I'm saying I wanted to be a cop as a young kid. And when I walk into a house and see a young boy blows his head off in front of his parents because the father, you ain't got the balls of doing it, and the kid shoots himself in the head, and we show up there, and the father's just kind of like, whatever, Yeah. That's the stuff that gets me like, oh, I mean, how do we fix that,
Well, that's the whole thing. It's how do you fix it?
Right.
Now, where can our audience find you and Team APC?
Well, you can find me on Instagram, right? Jose Medina APC or Team APC-360.
Which I just realized you didn't tell me that I know you're on Instagram, but you didn't tell me there's also Team APC version of it.
Yeah.
I just found that
by
accident.
Yeah, because that's my Enigma page is the Jose Medina APC, which I go up and down in different directions. But then Team APC is the actual business thing that we keep that exclusive to the training, or we put videos like you guys do of situations that have happened. And then
our videos are a little different these days.
Yes,
It's usually us fucking around or something.
Yeah, but you guys you're still sending a message. You know what I mean? Like part of the repair. You talking about how to fix this? Like you guys are.
That's what it's about.
Yeah,
that's what it's about. You take care of their bodies. We'll handle a little bit.
Like
of
we say,
yeah.
we're not broken, but we're pretty fucking dented.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, blemishes.
So we're coming to the end of this thing here. And I try to end it. You went through a lot of different suffering in building this something to make the world a better place.
Right.
Like that's honestly what I believe. By sending officers out on the road who are better trained, more confident. And when you're better trained, you're more confident. Yeah. But you put in a lot of hard work, blood, sweat, tears, and suffering. Yeah. What do you think it's taught you?
Well, it's definitely taught me to always be extremely humble. Like I'm, even being retired, I'm still in the game. But just when I think that I have the answers to a lot of things, and I see something bad happen, I humble myself to the fact that like I don't know everything still, but it helps me to create something. How do we make this training better to help these guys and gals? I mean, I guess that's really all I can say. Like I learn from just seeing what's happening, from the cops that stop by my house still to tell me the stories of what's going on. The captains and leaders that are leaving disgusted, but then I humble myself to the fact that, what, I'm glad I did what I did 21 years ago, because someone told me in the PD, you're never going to make it. And I said,
there's your motivation right there.
That was it. How are you going to run the team? How are you going to, and I did it. And I basically humbled myself to the fact that, I don't know everything, but I know enough that I can at least, as Kevin said, leave these guys and gals in a better place. And I tell them, go to other training. I think that's the big thing. Go to other training. Be like I was. Like, we're not the end-all game here. Go to other training and learn from everybody. And you have to master your craft, because at the end of the day, out there in the streets, the bullets have the right of way. And, we talk about go home to family, but humble yourself to the fact that, you're going to make mistakes but fail forward. That's because that's what I did. When I lost my best friend in the shootout, I made a lot of mistakes, things I could have done better to keep him alive. But just try to humble myself, And at the end of the day, like, I almost lost my family numerous times to, just stupid things I've done and, my alpha male thing. But I've learned more as I get older. It's true. Like as you older, you get wiser, and if you can humble yourself to the mistakes you make, at the same time, the successes that you achieve, I could rest my head on the pillow, and I'm fine. I'm fine with it.
I just gotta say, I want to first of all, I want to thank you for coming in here. I mean, like I said, it's an honor for me and Kevin to have someone of your stature in here.
Take that lightly. It's an honor for him he says that it's an honor for him to sit next to me.
No, I have to say that you're my partner. But no, Jose and his team came down and trained our SWAT team, and I got to tell you, these guys are the real deal. It's guys like him that taught me what professionalism is all about. I appreciate it, and I also show him this too.
So Jose was kind enough to give us. Now I'm not wearing I know it says Team APC, but I can't read what the rest of it says. Drop off these nice challenge coins, which we display. We get a fair amount of challenge coins.
We're gonna have to buy a new case soon.
Yeah,
and we're always very grateful. We're very grateful that there's people out there like you still working on the next generation.
Thank you. Right. What it says real quick is, if you want peace, prepare for war.
That's true.
That's
what was it? You'd rather be a warrior in a garden than a gardener in a war. That's it.
Salute you. Thank you, guys.
And that's going to do it for this episode of the Suffering Podcast. As always, let's think about all the stuff that we learned here. It's inspirational watching somebody grow up and make their childhood dream come true. You rise to the position that you were meant to be. A lot of work goes into looking professional. Holes are actually opportunities. Fail forward. But most importantly, it's not erotic. It's not exotic. It's just passion. And that's going to do it for this episode of the Suffering Podcast, The Suffering of SWAT with Jose Medina. And go to popple.com, put in the code TSP20 for a digital business card. Don't forget, all of our episodes come out on Sundays on audio format. You can listen to the complete episode before you watch on Monday on YouTube. Don't forget to follow us on all social media. That's LinkedIn, Facebook, TikTok, Instagram, and Clapper. Follow Mike at Mike_Failace. Follow me at Real Kevin Donaldson. And, of course, follow the Suffering Podcast. And we'll see you on the next episode.